Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to the webinar this morning. Happy Friday. Today I have Glenn Frazier here from Dialight, and he'll be going over integrating Dialight light fixtures into your factory's automation system. So Glenn, are you ready?
I am.
All right, perfect. I will give it over to you and we will start.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for joining today. I am the Business Development Manager for Dialight for our controls and key accounts. So I'm going to talk to you about integrating your Dialight light fixtures into your factory automation, and particularly Rockwell Automation in this case. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me and ask or wait till the end. We should have plenty of time. So we're going to talk today, we're going to start a little bit with the industrial Internet of Things, just to make sure everybody understands where that is and some of the terms you might have heard. Then talk just briefly about who is Dialight, because some of you might not really be familiar with what all the offerings that we have. Then I'm going to get into the meat of this, which is our IntelliLED controls, our wireless controls for our lighting, and the integration into our factory automation. And then just briefly how to use it, and then the success and what people are doing to make this successful. So, what is the industrial Internet of Things? Basically, it's anything and everything connected together in any factory, in any house. It's industrial Internet of Things. That's for factories. So every machine, every sensor, everything being able to talk and get that information back to where it needs to be so you can make better decisions, faster, more autonomous decisions. That's what you mostly hear. You'll hear a little bit of Industry 4.0. This is something kind of more from the European side, but they're saying you'll see what the different industrial revolutions are. Of course, the first industrial revolution of getting just powered, industrialization for the second revolution, which is really the production line. And then really automation was the third. So now we're saying we're in the fourth industrial revolution, which is the smart automation. So this is, again, connecting everything, making sure things are autonomously making the right decision or getting the information to the right people to make smarter decisions and improve not only the quality but the efficiency of our production. And it is really growing very fast. So if you look at what they're expecting this year, 50 billion devices will be connected to the Internet of Things. So this is going fast, and it's just increasing, at a rate every single year. So you're going to see more and more of this. You're seeing that in your homes, whether they have a Amazon device or Google device or anything else. You'll see everything being connected. If you look at Rockwell Automation, they've been doing a very nice job with this. So they have something called their Connected Enterprise. So they are connecting not only just their machines, but they're connecting it to the supply chain. They're getting to from the top floor to shop floor is what they like to say. So they're getting information from the production line directly to the executives so they can make the right decisions and get everything correct. Question is, though, what about the factory's lighting? They've done just about everything else, but they have no connectivity to any factory lighting. It's been kind of forgotten. Well, I'll get to that in a moment. But who is Dialight? So lights have evolved here in the last several years. Most people have seen the high-pressure sodium metal halide light fixtures. They're everywhere. They're hot. They fail easily, and within a year or two, they use a lot of energy. So there was a big push to move to fluorescent where you can, and fluorescent had taken over. But now you're in that position where everything's starting to move over to LED, and that's where we come in. So right now, the current transition is from fluorescent to LED everywhere, not just in your homes, but definitely in factories. And Dialight, we've never actually done or created fluorescent or any of the high-pressure sodium, any of the legacy lighting. We started with just the white lights for LED light fixtures, and we were the first movers into industry space. So we've been doing this for over 10 years. So we now have over 1.5 million LED fixtures installed worldwide in industrial facilities. And that's all we do. We only do LED, and we only do industrial facilities. And it's probably, that was even 2 years ago now, it's probably approaching 2 million fixtures in facilities. But we haven't been around for just 10 years. In fact, we've been around over 80 years. We've been making lights starting with instrument panels for aircraft. But when lights, LED light capability came out in the early 70s, we jumped on it right away and quickly moved to making nothing but LED products. And then, like I said earlier, about 10 years ago, we moved into industrial LED lighting when we were able to get white lighting bright enough and consistent enough to be able to produce it for factories. So we're the first movers in that, and we have a really nice spot for it. So where do we serve? Well, energy, utilities, and mining. So we do a lot of that. Anything hot, dirty, and nasty, that's what we've been known for. So you'll see a lot of those capabilities, chemicals, petrochem, specifically oil and gas refineries everywhere. Industrial manufacturing, though, is big. The heavy and light industry, so we've got some heavy-duty lights. We do have some new light fixtures that are more light-duty for warehousing and light industrial manufacturing. But wood, steel, food and beverage, those are big for us because of what we can handle and how our lights perform. Structural, so we have obstruction lights for any kind of towers or smokestacks you see there. And then rail, sewage, water and wastewater, that's big because of our chemical resistance and our sealed products. So just a little listing of some of the big companies that we work for today. So we have partnerships with a lot of these big companies. With Ford, we've replaced almost every single light fixture in every facility around the world for them. But everything else, all the big ones, all the big paper, all the big steel, all the big automotives, all the big oil and gas, that's where we spend a lot of time. So this is our portfolio from the heavy duty. So this is the largest light fixture. It's 72,000 lumens. This is like from 30 feet to a factory height of 100 feet. The light to medium duty I mentioned. So this one goes also up to 72,000 lumens. But it and down to about 18,000 lumens. And this is really more that fluorescent replacement. So this will get that light manufacturing, media manufacturing, even warehousing. Linear lights, aerial lights, they're everywhere. Low bays, so that'll be down to about 4,300 lumens. Floodlights. We'll talk about controls in just a moment, and then obstructions I mentioned. But why do people buy from us? Well, saving money. Of course, our LED lights are very efficient. But with us, the one thing we do, which is better than almost anyone, are 10-year warranties. We design everything ourselves, except for buying the best LED chips. We design everything. Power supplies, which is a rarity in the industry, we make sure that they are going to last. So they are almost everything has 10-year warranties and will survive that. Improving safety. So because the way we drive our LEDs, they are not going to dim for many, many years or very, very little. So instead of light fixtures you have today, which in 12 to 18 months, they're going to be at lost 30 to 40% of their light output. Our light fixtures will go 100,000 hours, 180,000 hours with just very small reductions. So you're going to have light fixtures that you put up for 10 years that are easily going to last 10 years plus without having to do anything. Very low glare. I'll show you that in a moment, but that's one thing we spend a lot of time with optical engineers to make sure that we have the best lighting from low glare and putting the most foot candles on the floor or on the work surface. But harsh environments, high vibration areas are where we really thrive. So drilling rigs like this is where they put our light fixture. We're the only ones that use on those now. High temperatures, they put us in steel mills, paper machines above the hot end furnaces areas. So we are known to survive these areas where very hot, very wet areas. We can do it, and we have all the full classifications: C1D1, C1D2, C2D2, everything that you can do for any of the classified areas. But what we'll talk about today is improving your safety, productivity, and energy savings with our easy-to-use wireless connectivity into your factory automation. So we'll get into that in just a second. But I talked about low glare, but what does that mean? I love this picture because this is actually Ford, I just mentioned. They did a test of our light fixture versus the major competition, which you've probably heard of. And they actually put those on the ceiling and then brought their union workers in to say, which ones would you like to work under? And the answer is obvious. All the other lighting manufacturers out there have a lot of glare, and some are very, very bad. Ours, very little glare. They almost barely look like they're on when you're looking at it from an angle. But yet you go underneath the lights, For the same lumen output packages of our LightFix competitors, we have almost twice as many foot candles on the work surface. So we direct the light where you want it. You can do the right things and, again, have no glare. All right, so let's talk about our IntelliLED controls. So Dialight employs 802.15 protocol, which is on 2.5 gigahertz, and you're probably normally used to 802.11, which is your typical house Wi-Fi, and your router, which is a one-to-one. Your router is going to talk directly to your computer, to your iPad, to your iPhone. This is a mesh, so it's similar in that range, but it's a mesh. So in this case, our gateway will talk to a light fixture, but that might talk to another one, and we've talked to another one. Our gateways, we specify 100 feet distance to the first light, and any fixture has to be within 100 feet. We can actually do more than that. I personally tested up to 300 feet through a block wall, but we don't know exactly what everybody's facility is going to look like and what other obstacles will be there. So we say 100 feet. But with this mesh, we can now connect to light fixtures that are 1,000 feet away, because they're going to now connect and jump from light to light to light and get there and get that information back. So be able to control it and bring back the power and all the other information we want to get from that light fixture. So in this case, I'll show you the simple case, which is just a single gateway. So if you have under 120 nodes or connections, which are light fixtures and sensors, you can use just one simple gateway. You hang your light fixtures up you normally do, put your typical AC power to them, and then all you need is 120 volts to that gateway, and then you can connect to it. You can wirelessly connect it with your computer or put it on your company Wi-Fi or your company Ethernet and make it work. So you can control all your lights just with that. It is secure. We do not want people breaking into it and causing any kind of trouble with your lighting or your factory at all. But because that mesh network you talked about, it has a self-healing capability. So every light fixture is always looking for the best connection and the best signal it can find. And it'll jump around, and it bounces as it wants to make sure it's getting the best connection. And if you have a light fixture fail, so like maybe that one in the middle, that was in the middle of a string, it fails or somebody turns it off, the communication will just jump to another light and get the information back. So it's always going to work. It's robust. We're one of the few companies that actually have multiple channels around at 2.4 gigahertz to be able to find the area that's a little easier. It's very easy to use. You'll hear me say simple many, many times, but I'll show that and prove it to you. But we don't have any special software with this. It's just an IP address. You use your web browser and you log in and you can control your light fixtures. Now, if you have more than that, so say you have 200 light fixtures in your facility, well, then you're going to need 2 gateways. So you can use just 2 gateways and not have them connected at all, and you just have 2 IP addresses, and there's kind of 2 separate systems at that point. But most people want to connect them together, and you would use our black box, which is called our enterprise server. That just goes on your typical, your standard Ethernet in your factory. And now you have 1 IP address. Now you can talk to all your light fixtures at the same time. So now the same software, very similar software you had in the gateway, is now in the enterprise server. You go in there one time, you can control all your light fixtures. If you have 1,000 light fixtures in your facility, you go in there with one button and reduce them down to 80% at one time if you want to do that. The other thing with the enterprise server, it has all the same functionality, plus it has some reporting capability, which I'll show you in a moment. So it is very powerful. Some people will even buy it simply just because, even if they have 30 light fixtures, because they want this extra capability. But the question I always get is how many gateways can you put on? How many light fixtures can you connect with that? Well, it's more than you'll ever get to. We're saying 10,000 light fixtures. We're saying 100 gateways. You can really do a lot because it's just software at that point. So what can you do with it? Well, you can set it up in any way you want. Grouping, put in groups, rows, zones. You can put exits. You can have groups during the day, groups at night. You can have, I've set up people where their exit lights are on at night only, and maybe the intersections of aisleways. It's very flexible. So you can actually change it anytime you want. So say this big yellow group, you wanted to add the blue row next to it. The next day, you just go in your software. It'll take you 3 to 5 minutes to make that change, and I'll show you that in a moment. But you also have sensors you can add to this. So we put a sensor here. This is an occupancy sensor. It's wireless, so now it can connect to any group you want. You can connect it to this blue group, and it'll turn all those light fixtures on when it's triggered. You can also you can have it go to multiple groups. You can put different sensors in different groups or multiple sensors in a group if you want. So maybe you have an aisle and you want a sensor on each end of the aisle. You can do that. But you don't have to have a sensor on every fixture. It is in a group. You also have daylight harvesting sensors, which are sensors that'll watch for ambient light. And if you have skylights or any other kind of windows where sunlight's getting in, it'll automatically dim the lights to save extra energy. And again, that'll connect to your whole group and adjust all the lights in that particular group. Scheduling. So you can put schedules on all of your groups. So you have multiple schedules on a group. So a lot of people will do weekdays and then they'll do weekends because their usage in their factory is a little different on the weekends. It's very easy to do. You go in, you say an add, you say at 8 o'clock, I want to turn on at 90%, and it'll automatically plot here for you. So as you're adding different actions and different events, it'll plot it and show you exactly what you're doing. You can have multiple events or schedules on groups, like I said. You can have the same schedule affect multiple groups. So it's, again, it's very flexible and very easy to use. Once you put it into a group, and say you have two different schedules in a group, one for weekdays, one for weekends, in that group, it'll actually show you all 7 days in a plot to show you how it's working, how it's going to work in all those days, and what are the transitions to make sure you have it right. If you don't, you just simply go in and add another event to make it correct. So reporting. So I said the enterprise server has some reporting capability. So this is a screen right out of that, and I'll show you this live in a moment. But there's 4 different reports, and the 2 on the outside are most interesting, but I'll go through these. The first one, expense and savings. So now, if you come in, when you first commission your system, your legacy configuration is what you replaced. So say, this is dummy information in here, but say you had 1,000-watt fixtures, you had 100 of them, they're on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You put that in, put your 10 cents a kilowatt hour, and you hit save. If you have different wattages or they're on different days, you just keep adding rows and hit add, and you just add those rows to make that fit. You hit save, and then this orange bar is going to show you every day how much you were burning for your legacy. And then the blue bars are going to be exactly what you're burning today. We take the real-time power of every single light fixture and aggregate it, and we'll show it to you. So we'll show you what the energy difference is. We'll show you what the dollar spent is. On the left-hand side, it'll be the past 28 days. It's a rolling number of how much you used from wattage, and how many kilowatts you used, how many dollars you spent, and what your savings are. It'll also show your CO2 savings. So this is actually a really nice tool to be able to show you what's your ROI. You just spent a lot of money on this, and you want to see how much energy you're really saving is what you expected. So executives love this, especially sustainability executives that have to do reporting and put in their annual report. But engineers love this because now they can go in and set it up, run their system, and say in March they spent $10,000 in electrical energy. They can now optimize the system. So they can maybe reduce a section by 30%, put more occupancy sensors on, change schedules, and then monitor it and say, well, in April, I just saved $1,500 by optimizing, reducing it, saving energy, but still keeping adequate foot candles of light on the work surface for the workers. So it's a great tool for optimization. Those 2 bubbles in the middle for reports, historical and real time. So historical, you simply put whatever date range you want, and it'll show you how much you've been spending over that date range in bar charts. In real time, it's a plot that moves across the screen, and this is kind of interesting because the colors at the bottom, you can't really see or read those necessarily, but it's okay. They're just every group that you set up. Then you can click on them and turn off the ones you don't want, and say you want to see the warehouse. It'll leave just the warehouse. You can see how much energy being spent on used on those light fixtures right there. But it's really interesting though is our download capability. So you can go in and all you choose, say I want to see everything from any date range you want. In this case, I'll say January 1st to March 31st. And you hit go, and it'll give you a CSV file. And this file is every single column is every single light fixture in your facility. And it'll give you the power of those lights every 15 minutes. So now engineers love this. They bring it into Excel, and now they can do anything they want with it. They can sort it, plot it, make graphs, do whatever they want to do with it. But what you see with this data is it's really nice because the 212 happen to be the highest wattage of that particular fixture, so we know those are on 100%. The 0.6, if you say something low like that, 0.6, 1 watt, that means the light fixture is powered on, it's connected and talking, but we're actually commanding it to be off or at 0%. So it's just the residual power of the communication. You see a 0 in this case, that means light fixture is off. So maybe it failed, the communication isn't working, somebody turned the circuit breaker off. In this case, because I see 3 of them and 3 in a row like that, I mean somebody probably turned the circuit breaker off, so those light fixtures are not talking right now. But this is great because you can see, is it following the schedule you set up? What happened last night at 2 in the morning? Is it working as expected? Are people in an area and the occupancy sensors are being triggered and it's maybe they're in an area more than you expect, or maybe they shouldn't be there, or maybe they're in there more than you expect and you want to change the schedule to accommodate that. So it gives you a lot of good information about how your system's operating. So I've talked about how easy everything is. Well, we did a test. So I actually brought 6 brand new fixtures in from our factory to our headquarters. I called the local contractor and they said, I want an electrician in. They said the only criteria is they have to bring their laptop and know how to use it. So they sent a person who had never seen our fixtures, never saw our product at all. In fairness, had done a control on a competitive system once. But all I did, I gave them their quick start guide. I said I wanted these 6 fixtures named 1 through 6. Put them in a group named X and put a schedule on to turn them on at 8 o'clock to 90% and off at 5. And then I let him go and I actually videotaped him. And he was able to connect to the system, do everything he do, followed steps that he thought he wanted to do. He did everything with no problem whatsoever. He got to scheduling, maybe stopped for 20 seconds and thought about it and then took the exact right action. Had everything up and named and done, commissioned exactly what I wanted in 20 minutes. From never seen anything before and have it done and complete in 20 minutes. And what's funny is in our gateway, we actually have something called a wizard, which when you first power up and you turn it on, you go into this wizard. It'll take you step by step what you need to do to name everything, put them in groups, schedule them. It'll take you step by step. He didn't know it was there, and I didn't tell him because that'd be unfair for me. But he actually didn't use it, but took every step exactly the way the wizard would have done it. So it's easy to use. It's very intuitive. And just actually to give you another anecdote for that, I did a commissioning of a system out in Oregon where I set up a system of 42 light fixtures. When I got there, they didn't even have the gateway on the wall or plugged in yet. So we put 120 volts on the bench, and then I had the customer and the distributor behind me, and I actually explained it and taught them how to do everything right there live while I set it up. I named all the lights. I had everything done perfectly with the commission set up in groups and how they wanted it in 2 hours. That's with training them and doing everything. But then what's funny is that they had a co-op to take care of the system then after I left. But then he went to college, so right before Christmas, the engineer calls me. He said, well, Glenn, I'm sorry, I forgot to, I didn't really listen, or I hadn't really played with this at all as this worked, but now I need to change something, but I don't know how to get in. I said, well, if he hasn't changed the password, here's the password, and let me know if you have a problem. Well, he just got in, was able to figure out exactly what he needed to do without having any manuals. He just did it. Didn't even have to call me. It was just that easy. He just simply didn't remember what the password was. So that's what's nice about this, because the whole goal is you don't want to be having to touch your lighting system very often, but every 6 months when you do, it'll be really, really easy for you to get in there. You don't have to know or remember special things. That's how our system works now, but I promised talking about factory automation. So we are the only lighting company doing anything like this where we're connecting to industrial automation. So we have protocols for Ethernet IP, Profinet, and BACnet. And we focus really on Rockwell Automation and Allen Bradley with their Ethernet IP. So we have ease of use tools available for these. So if you're a programmer, add-on profiles and add-on instructions. And what that does, it makes the ability for the programmer for a PLC to be able to talk seamlessly to our light fixtures and do anything they want. It's very simple for them. If you're not a programmer, add-on profiles and add-on instructions, it's basically, I've had people say, well, can you explain those? And I say, you don't really have to. It's like asking if you speak English, you say yes. I don't now start explaining what a noun or a verb is. You know how to speak, and that's exactly what this is. They would go into their software, they'll see their PowerFlex drives from Allen Bradley, and they'll see Dialite lights, and they'll know exactly what to do. So it does make it very simple. The question is, why would you want to do something like that? You've got a controller. Do you really want to connect it to your PLC? Well, you can, and you do want to do this because you can improve safety, productivity, and energy savings. So let's talk about that. Here's an example. You've got a production line and your cans fall over and jam up. You can blink the light right above that jam and get people out there to fix it. So once you're connected to the PLC, that's the brains of the operation. It knows everything. any sensor, any condition, speed of the line, any pressure sensor, anything you want to do, you can control the lights with that. So let's talk about a few examples of that. Well, if you have a fire alarm and you connect that into your PLC, you can now control the lights in emergencies. You can blink the exits and turn on the rows of egress. Or if you have a tornado, you can then blink the areas and show people where the safe areas to go are. Because you all know that once a year you do a training where they blast the horn, one or two signals or something. You're supposed to remember which way to go, but usually somebody's telling you where to go. But if it really happens in real time, you don't have the time to think about that or start asking people. You need to know where to go, and this can really help you with that. What else can you do? Well, you can dim the lights when the process is running and only go to full brightness after you've done a proper lockout tagout. So if you have a production line, it can have the lights on as you get it started up, but once it gets going, maybe it gets up to 90 or 100% of its full speed, and it's now autonomous, it'll automatically dim the lights. Only turn them on when you do that proper lockout tagout, or maybe you start blinking the lights when there's a problem and get people out there to fix it. We've been talking to steel mills because they've got trains that come in their platform, and it's a big safety hazard, and everybody's wearing double hearing protection. You can blink the lights on the platform when there's an approaching train. That's a big safety hazard that we can help with. But I've talked to lumber mills, and in the third case, they had a lumber coming down the line. He said, "Can I change the light intensity based on what lumber it is?" And the answer is yes, you can, because the PLC knows exactly what it's sending down at that particular time, and it can change the light automatically to adjust to what you want. So it's, I'm not going to read through all of those, but literally anything you think you can do can be done, because you can get those informations in, and that's the PLC's job, is to decide that, if this sensor went on and the machine's in this condition, turn the light on or turn it off or do whatever you want. So that's the power of being able to now talk to all of those lights on your ceiling. So I talked about the tools for that, add-on instructions and add-on profiles. So you can get those on our website. You can go up to the Rockwell website also and pull that information down. We also have sample code for you. So you can go in, pull down a sample code, which is the PLC code you need to get it connected, and it'll be halfway where you need to be, and now you just adjust it for your particular system. But this is why we're an Encompass partner with Rockwell, because we're the only lighting company doing anything like this, and they see the value of being able to now have more lights in their whole connected enterprise, and that's what we're trying to do. Oops. So now that you have all these lights connected, you have every 20 feet you have a light fixture on the ceiling, you have communication, you have power. What else can you do with that? Well, that's what we're looking at. You'll see here 3 layers. So the first layer is our control, which I talked about. The second layer is integrating with the PLCs, as we mentioned. So now we have both of those done. And now we're looking at layer 3, which could be things like asset tracking. What if you put RFID sensors on every light? Now you can start tracking your pallets and your forklifts and making sure your factory is working and optimized the way you want it to be. That was a kind of hot item a little bit ago. It's kind of cooling off, but what's really interesting to us are things like environmental apps. So we can take a third-party sensor and wirelessly connect it to our system. Now, if you have a gas leak that's really dangerous and deadly, you can start blinking the light right where that problem is, and then show where that gas cloud is moving, and start blinking the lights, get that information back to the control house to let them know where they first identified the leak and where it's going, so they can warn people, and people know exactly what to do. Today in a refinery, if there's a gas leak, it is truly a deadly situation, and what workers have to do is they have to look up at the 1800s technology of a windsock and say, oh, the wind's blowing that direction, I better run the other direction. Well, there's better capabilities and better ways we can do that, and safer ways. So once you can start doing things like this, now all of a sudden there's more and more capabilities. And this really is the whole key to the industrial Internet of Things. So if you've got that overhead lighting, that it can now talk to more systems, more production lines, forklifts, whatever you want to connect to. If you can start doing that, now you can start adding more and more capabilities to your system and make it, again, safer, smarter, and save more energy. So that's what we're doing with our systems. So how do you use it? So I've talked about how easy it is. This is actually the screen for getting our system. So let me pull it up here. That's still open. So if you go into our screen, you just pull up your, in this case I got Firefox open, go in with an IP address, and now I can play with the system. There's really only 2 major screens. One is the control, once it's set up, and one's the configuration. So from a control standpoint, if I click on that, Now, this is a very dummy test system, so we can change and do anything we want without changing my lights in my factory or anything. But you'll see everything. You'll always see all devices. So you could click, if you've got 100 lights connected to this or 1,000 light fixtures connected to it. You can override it and dim it down all the way you want. Or say maybe you're always running at 63%, and then you want to, your bosses are coming in, you're doing inspections, you're doing inventory. Maybe you do override it and bring it to 100% so you can see, get it as bright as possible so you can see everything you need to do. Or you can do that with any particular group that you've set up. You can see a lot of test groups in here. Reporting, I mentioned that. Click on there and there are all the buttons to see those reports you wanted to see, just as we talked about. But if you go into configuration, now here's where you see all your devices. So you can go in here and you can simply open it up and rename the device. So I'm going to say this one, test 11. You can actually dim the light directly right there if you want to do that. Right now it's being commanded to 65% by a group. You can identify it. I'll hit that. You can identify it there or here. If you want to go out to the factory and maybe you're renaming it, you want to see exactly which light that is that you're affecting, you hit identify, it'll blink it. You can see, oh, it is in location B1. So that's exactly what you expected. You can do that, again, very simply. You've got configuration for your groups. So you have many groups here. I can open one up. I'll open up test 1. You'll see some devices are connected to it. But if I want to add another one, so like I said, you go in, you want to add some more lights to the group. Well, it's really easy. You go over here and maybe add these first 3, including Mr. Prine. Put in that group, and you hit save, and now they're in that group. Very simple. You can associate schedules with it. So in this case, I'll create a new schedule, so you see this. So I'll call this one test 11 again. So I'm going to do Monday through Friday. I'll put add, and really simply, I'll say at 8 o'clock, I want it to go on at 65%. Hit save, and now you see it plots it directly for you. So you see exactly how it works. So I'm going to say at whatever, some other time, turn it off, and the plot sets it up for you. So it's very simple. Hit save. Now I have to associate it with that group. So I think it was test 11. Bring it over, and it's in. Now you see, I said all those 5 days, it shows exactly how it's set up and what it's going to do. And in fact, it's off on the weekend because I didn't set any schedule up there yet. So it's just that simple and just that intuitive. Another nice thing that's in here, besides some other things, I won't go through all the details, but this is a network analysis. So this shows you how they're all wirelessly talking to each other. So in this case, the enterprise server is hardwired to the gateway. Then it's connecting to the first light fixture, and there's 2 light fixtures talking to that, and they found the best signals for these 5 to talk to that one, and it's perfectly fine. If you watch this, it's very dynamic. Test system, nothing's really happening, so you're not going to move very often, though every time I open it up, it is different, and we might see it here if I talk for long enough. But they'll move around because the dark lines are relative high signal strength. The little lighter lines mean it's a little less signal strength to that. So this test X will probably move over and connect to another light if I sit here long enough, because that's what it wants to do. You can even hover over this, and it'll give you information, show you what the RF strength is, what its name is, and other information. So it's a nice little tool once you get it set up to see how things are really working, and if maybe you've got some that are really not talking very well, maybe you've got an issue with how you got it set up, or you've got some metal that are interfering. So very nice and very easy to use. So just wanted to briefly show you that. Let's just jump back into the presentation. So I've showed you how easy it is. I showed you how it works. Well, what's out in the field, and how is it really working out there? Well, we had a major glass manufacturer who I can't use their name yet. They have given us full permission to do a success story. This is one of our most recent wins, but unfortunately with the virus, we can't go in and do videos and interviews, so I haven't done the final before and after for that yet. But they had 913 Lithonia fluorescent fixtures on their ceiling. They wanted to replace. So they did a test, a trial of one of our fixtures, our Reliant fixture, which is our medium duty for this light. It's a kind of medium duty manufacturing for glass cutting and glass forming. They put ours up against 3 others, including Lithonia LED fixture. And they chose us because the construction is much better than what they have. Low glare, because they have a lot of forklifts. They really don't want people looking up into bright LEDs. 10-year warranties for our fixtures, easy to use controls, everything I talked about, and they wanted to connect to their Allen Bradley PLCs. So we did that. 850 of them were fully wireless. They had 63 that had just standard occupancy sensors on the fixtures for small rooms. But all hooked up with enterprise server and 8 gateways, 10 occupancy sensors, and some daylight harvesting sensors. It took us 3 days. Engineer and myself went in, got everything fully named, all those light fixtures, all connected, all put in groups, all being commanded by all of these gateways and the enterprise servers. So now their main energies are can sit in his headquarters office, and you can actually see that report that I showed you before. So you can see it in a different, even a different state even. But we got it all connected together. I actually trained everybody. And then we even had time, so we usually don't do the connection into Rockwell, but we had time to do it, so we did it for them. We got them started, got them connected to an HMI panel. So, and what does that look like from a topology? Well, it's quite simple, and this will look like anybody's factory. So here are all the wireless fixtures in the ceiling, 8 gateways, just 120 AC to power them, connected to the company network. So it's basically just your Ethernet in your factory with our enterprise server. Then your Allen Bradley's talking Ethernet IP to the same Ethernet switches that's in there for Rockwell. And it's all connected together. So the enterprise server people mostly just, in fact, all the time, they just put it in their IT rack. It just needs 24 volts and one connection Ethernet, and you're ready to go. So it is, again, simple. But what are the results of that? Well, changing to these light fixtures, we've now increased the light from between 50 and 80% across most of the factory. Other places, small areas, it's actually up to 200%. But we reduced the energy usage by 65% and saving them $164,000 a year. And with maintenance savings for changing bulbs and ballasts all the time, they're now saving almost $200,000 a year. In this case, the ROI was under 2 years. So they're saving a lot of money right off the bat. They control all their lights every way they want. First thing they did when we walked in to do the commissioning and all the lights were hung, they said they can't believe how uniform the light looks, how there's no glare, everything's the same exact color, because when you have any of the older fixtures, whether it's HIDs or fluorescent, they're changing bulbs at different times and they always look different. And then their panel views are up and running. They have 10 production lines at the beginning of their facility where they do their manufacturing or cut the glass, but only about 6 or 7 are running at one time. So we set it up so they can automatically dim the light fixtures right on those lines that are off. So I think they put them down to 20%. And then they have HMI panels. So if somebody wants to come over and do some work on the machine or get things going, they can just use the panel view and turn the lights on to any brightness they want, or even turn on individual light fixtures they want to do that. So it's set up so as you can see the picture there, I'll have some better before and after pictures soon, but the light on the floor is very even. Before there actually was glare just from the fluorescent fixtures. There's actually brighter ceiling because of the reflectivity. Everything's uniform, great temperature of the light at 5,000, 10-year warranty. Everything they wanted to do was working perfectly right out of the bat. So it was a great success for them. And now we're actually starting to replace light fixtures at multiple factories right now for them. So great win. So I'm going to summarize this. So we talked about Dialit lighting. So we are the world leader in industrial LED lighting. As I said, we've been doing it longer than anybody else. And that's all we've ever done with our 10-year warranties, great optics, and our seamless connection to factory automation, which again is giving you that safety, productivity, and energy saving improvements. So great lights, you can turn them on instantly, do whatever you want to do with them. Flexibility is what really, the simplicity and flexibility is what people love. The fact they go in there very simply, even a year later, and know exactly what to do to be able to change the lighting the way they want. That's what they like to do. The energy monitoring reporting are great tools that anybody can use. And then you can, for maintenance, so not only are they have 10-year warranties and you're not going to have to touch them for 10 years, but if you dim the lights, most people when they put our controls on their light fixtures, they actually dim the lights right off the bat 20 to 30%. Because the light's so much brighter and so much better, they can reduce a little bit and save energy. That's going to now extend the life so that 10 years that you're guaranteed to get. It's still guaranteed 10 years, but it's probably going to last 15, 17 years just because you're now not using everything to their full capacity. But then you can start doing things like, once you've dimmed them, if your lights are, a dusty environment and they start getting dirty, well, instead of going out there and every single light fixture and dusting them off, I can go in and just simply raise it up by 5% every 6 months. So maybe every second or third year you go out there, maybe you dust the lights off. So it really gives you some other ways to save more time and money. So that's the brief introduction to Dialight, our capability, and our seamless connection into factory automation and Rockwell Automation. So if you're a factory that uses Rockwell Automation for your PLCs, you can actually even do Siemens and Tritium if you have building automation, you want to do that. But Rockwell is our number one, and that's what we spend a lot of time working on with Rumsey, and to be able to really add more value to their customers. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. You can send it to myself or actually get into your Rumsey representative. Ryan Antonikis is our local salesperson for the Rumsey territory.